If you're still with me in the series of narcissism, this is probably the one you've come for. So you've experienced the manager, you're feeling terrible, you're really at your wits' end, you're feeling probably that this, they've made you feel that you're doing everything wrong, there's something wrong with you, it's all in your head, you may be feeling a little bit mad, a little bit disoriented. That's all normal. That's their power, that's what they do. When they're using their gaslighting, their techniques, that's what they're doing. They're experts at this. They've done it their whole life to hide behind this narcissistic shield, this cover, which is not them. It's the self that they've created, which is really horrible. And they have to keep feeding this persona, because if they don't, they're going to see themselves. A narcissist will never ever look inside, never look at themselves, because it's too painful. Not for a second am I excusing the behaviour, because it's unexcusable, it's inexcusable. They cannot be allowed to get away with this. They may have issues, that's fine, but the path to healing is to face that stuff, but they are never going to do that. So it's quite painful to know that this is what's happening. So how do you deal with narcissistic managers? How would you deal with someone? You've recognised narcissistic manager. I've heard, I've experienced them, as I said, and I'll use my experience as well. But you're going into a situation where they're just going to shout at you, they're going to talk down to you, they're going to undermine you, ridicule you, and all this stuff. How do you deal with that? How do you carry that? So the first thing I'd say to you is to have clear boundaries. And what I mean by that is, an example from my past is I had very clear boundaries around my managers. So my boundaries tightened as time went on, and they hated me. They absolutely hated me, and I don't care. You know what I mean? I really don't care. Because at the end of the day, if I liked them, I'd care. Or if they were any good, I'd care. If I thought they'd have brain, I'd care. But because I see them as narcissistic managers who, function off bullying, function off intimidation, etc., really I don't care. It doesn't faze me. So the thing is, my clear boundaries were a manager shouted at me, and I'd say to him, very clearly, you need to moderate your tone if you want this conversation to continue. I would never raise my voice. I would keep my voice at a very calm level. Tell him straight away, this is how to respect me. If he refused to respect me, actually, a very funny story. One time, a manager rang me. One of these narcissistic managers rang me, and he rang me on my personal phone. So I hung up. I answered the phone, and he starts screaming on the phone at me. So I just hung up, and he rang me back again, and he says to me, "I was cut off there. What happened?" I said, "You weren't cut off. I hung up on you. You can't speak with it. You can't hang up on me." So I hung up on him again, and he rang back again, and I said, "Are you going to moderate your tone now?" And he went, "Yes," and that was it. So that was my setting the level here. Do not speak to me like that. And eventually, because the narcissistic managers continued to ring me on my phone and use it as an intimidation, and this is something I'll be getting into in a little while, I withdrew their right to ring me on my phone. I pay for my phone, so I withdrew their right to ring me on my phone. And I told them only to contact me by email. The only contact my managers were allowed to do with me was via email. To basically, as I said in my thing, was I would have everything in writing. So, and that's the thing. So always document with a narcissistic manager. When you identify a narcissistic manager, document absolutely everything. And I've said this to people in my previous job again and again and again and again. And down the line, they'll come to me in tears, in bits, after being destroyed by this manager. And I'd say, do you have it in writing? And there's always this idea of, oh no, I didn't want to put it in writing because whatever the excuse. If you don't have it in writing, you don't have anything. You've lost your case. There's no point. So always go in thinking that you're going to come across a narcissistic manager, and document. Just write down, keep a little notebook, whatever, and document the date, time, event, who was present, what was said, this kind of stuff. Always document. Remember to practice self-care, and one of the things about self-care is when you're out of the job, be out of the job. So self-care for me also went back on having clear boundaries. It was very important for my self-care to ensure that work didn't contact me outside work. So when I'm away from work, I do not want to be contacted. And they would invariably contact me, because this is the part of their bullying, obviously. These narcissists, they'll do this because if you told them how to get to you, they're going to try. So that lovely thing came out there about the right to disconnect. And I regularly would send them a link, just the right to disconnect. do not contact me until I'm back at work on blah 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 this thing. And if they did it again, do not contact me until I'm back at work to this thing. And eventually then I just did an auto reply on my emails, and I wouldn't answer my emails. So that's how relentless a narcissistic manager can become. They can continue to bully and harass you. Never, ever, 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 and I can't emphasize this enough, there's not enough evers. Never, ever be alone with that manager. Never. I have made that mistake. I've been in situations numerous times where either I've been too tired or too exhausted from fighting, and I just said, and in the room on your own, they'll either try to bully you, they'll either try to convince you that you agreed to do something when you're on with them, or they will promise you the sun, moon and stars. They'll attempt a little hoovering, bringing you back in. And in those cases, whatever you've agreed to, or whatever they've said you agreed to, really will be fuel just for the later fight down the road, where you can say, well, do you remember in the meeting that day you said this? I have no recollection of that event. So what I started to do then was, at one stage I did take a call from a manager, and we made an agreement, and later on the manager tried to renege on that and say, no, I have no recollection of that meeting or that discussion. I said, it really doesn't matter whether you recall it at all. I said, because it was on my phone, it was recorded, and you weren't the only person, I wasn't the only person listening in on the call. And immediately that narcissist withdrew and, basically he's caught. I'm caught here, so I have to do something. Who heard me? So never be alone with them. So if you're going into a meeting, it's whatever, how nice they are with you. Oh, come on, sure, we'll go in here and we'll have a cup of tea and I'll chat to you now. That is the trap. No matter how nice they're being, that is the trap. You never, ever, ever go into a meeting. If they want to have a meeting and they want to call you into a meeting, just say, no, hold on. They come on out here, I need to do a few things. You come out here and talk to me, and make sure there's a few people around, because their power is when they get you on your own. Everyone else can think they're lovely, but when they have you on their own, that's when they do the magic. So how to play with these people is, your self-care is very important. Look after yourself. Do something away from the job. Forget them. Do exercise, watch videos, whatever you love to do. Get into a nice bubble bath, relax, do meditation, do yoga, whatever you love to do. That's nothing to do with the work. Switch off 100% and leave it. Get out. So that's a different part of your life. You turned it off today, lock the door, close the door, move away, and then you do something you absolutely love. So find out what it is you love in your life and focus on doing that. Whether it's more likely being around your family, spending lots of time with your family and not thinking about the job. A lovely phrase I love to hear is the grey rocking. When you grey rock a narcissist, that drives them absolutely spare. And grey rocking is just, it's such a boring kind of thing if you think of a grey rock. And a grey rock is exactly what it says. They're coming in, they're saying to you, do you know the way you try to engage with them and talk to them and get this, and they're trying to build up this in front of people to go, yeah, and you just go, yeah, I'll do that, yeah. No conversation, yeah, no problem, yeah, I'll do that. There's no emotion. They're not getting in, you're not letting them in, you're keeping them at that surface level, and it just drives them spare. They cannot do anything, because how can they argue with you? You're not disagreeing with them, you're not fighting with them. Yeah, no, okay, fair enough, yeah. And there's nothing else. And they can accuse you all they want, but like, you haven't done anything wrong. And then it's very difficult in a job situation, but I have done it, so break contact. Do not engage with that person. So it's don't answer calls to them. Don't answer emails to them. Actually, I had a situation where a couple of managers where they were doing this, and I said, I won't be communicating with you anymore. And I blocked their numbers on my phone, and I blocked their emails. So the emails went automatically into spam. So anything that came, it could have been, we're giving you a raise. Never happened in the public service, but it could have been something like that. You've won the staff lottery, whatever it is. I absolutely broke off all contact with them. I took the power away. Now what actually happens there, this is you dealing with, you looking after your own mental health, you pulling some power back. But once you do that, you need to be ready, because they're not going to let you just walk away. They're going to come after you, and they're going to do every single thing within and outside of their power to pull you back in or absolutely destroy you. I was the second one. because they knew they couldn't control me, couldn't be pulling back. I wasn't going to be one of the flying monkeys. I was offered promotion. I refused. I didn't want that. I didn't want to be in the nest of vipers. This is what happens. So the next thing is they just push you out and they will do everything to discredit you. You're terrible at your job. You're useless. You're too emotional. You're stealing from the job. There's things going missing. It only goes missing when you're at work. Whatever things they're saying, this is them trying to regain control. And all you do is do not engage, because that's them trying to suck you back in. You stick to your self-care. You stick to everything else, because in order for them to do anything, they have to prove it. And if they say anything else, obviously there's a legal thing here. But just, you need to look after yourself around the narcissistic manager. Terrible, terrible managers. There's a lot of them out there, and we deserve better. So hopefully someday that'll change. But until that, just look after yourself. Thanks for watching.